Good afternoon and welcome to this video on how to use the soul map alongside your AI of choice. So mine is Claude, but if you're using other systems, then it will work the same for other systems. So the reason why I've decided to do this video is because I think there are a lot of people putting their astrology charts or their human design charts into an AI tool and getting back really poor results. Now, the reason for that is because AI cannot read a chart. Very clever for other things, but it can't distinguish or isn't currently able to distinguish the difference between, for example, a defined sacral and an undefined sacral, or a channel that takes your solar plexus up to your throat versus a channel that takes your solar plexus down to your root, or I've even seen examples where it will say someone's got the gate such and such, and they haven't got that gate. It's just that that gate is obviously showing within their chart because every single number is showing within their chart, but there's actually no definition within that gate. So I've seen and heard so many stories about using these AI tools to be able to read the chart, and actually, the soul map provides a really solid solution to that because the soul map is your chart turned into everyday language so that you can then input it into a system, one of the systems that you're using, ask it questions, and it will give you the correct information. So if you're not familiar with the soul map, I will just share my screen so that you can see what it is. The soul map is something that I have created, which is a fully comprehensive map of your entire human design system or blueprint, alongside astrological initiations, so astrological timelines that you are going to step through as you move through life. And it also has a real strong capacity for understanding the nervous system as well. So, woven throughout, the nervous system becomes this system that we work with and we train and we expand and we grow through the knowledge of ourselves. So, often you will see just human design talking about human design, astrology talking about human astrology, and you will see nervous system work sat completely in a different terrain. The soul map brings all of these together so that you can actually create long-term changes through the understanding of two systems within your brain. So in fact, three systems, because the first system is the nervous system. How does my nervous system react? How do I walk through life? Am I reacting? Am I acting? Am I choosing, or am I being forced or conditioned through these decisions or through these things that I'm going through? The second thing, so it includes all the nervous system stuff. The second thing is something called the default mode network. Default mode network is a part of our brain that stores our story and the story that we have about ourselves. Now, that story is usually conditioned, it's usually societally or culturally or just through traumas of life conditioned. What we need to do to be able to update that story is to be able to see and visualize and feel a new story that we can step into. So the soul map also works on that premise that to be able to make real changes, we have to recognize the old part, recognize the new part, and then the third part of this is that it also works with what's called the reticular activating system, the RAS, completely by accident, actually. So in order for us to go from old story to new story, we also have to have small experiments that are that can be based on repetition to be able to move us from old story to new story. So throughout the soul map and the remembering path, which is the 12-week journey that you can either do as an audio, as self-paced, or you can join me live on a Wednesday every week to do it. What that does is starts to create these experiments for us to be able to recognize old story, new story, and train our brain to start seeing a new version of reality, which is so powerful because when we do that, our nervous system also gets a chance to change, upgrade, shift, whatever language you want to use for it. So it's a really powerful tool. It's usually about 120 odd pages long. Now, when people get it, often the first bit of feedback is it's quite an overwhelming document. Yes, because it contains everything you need to know about yourself to be able to step fully into this new identity. Now, where that, as I say, becomes really, really helpful is you can then input that into something like Claude. So instead of asking Claude to guess and read your blueprint, you can ask it or you can upload it and ask it the questions that you need to ask about yourself to get you going on this next part of the journey. So once you have your soul map, it is a PDF document. You can then upload it into the background of your AI software, and you can start to use it as like a tailored reflection, self-reflection tool. This is not going to give you generic self-reflection material. This is going to give you self-reflection material and actions based on everything that is within your blueprint, based on everything that is you and not the conditioned version of you. So this is one that, in true Blue Peter style, for those of you in the UK, this is one that I prepared earlier. This is my soul map. And something that I was thinking about earlier that came up as a good opportunity to record this video was around my authority. So our authority is about how we are designed to make decisions, and everyone's authority is different. Now, I have what's called an ego authority. It means that I can be quite impulsive with my decisions. It comes from a place of desire, but I was brought up by people who had an emotional authority. Now, if you know anything about human design, you will know that an emotional authority takes time to make clear, concise decisions. But an ego decision is straight away, it's quite impactful, it's all desire based, and it can come off as quite impulsive to anyone with a slower decision making style. So, for example, an emotional projectors, which is who I was brought up by. So I had some decisions to make the other day that revolved around spending chunks of money, and I could feel myself instantly make a decision. And I had also this niggling voice in the back of my head that was, oh, I'm not sure. Maybe you should wait. Maybe you should wait a few days to just think about that and see how you feel in a few days' time. And I've been doing this for 6 or 7 years now, so I know how I'm designed to make decisions, but I still had that niggling voice in the back of my head, especially when it comes to spending out money. So I thought, actually, this is a great example to try and see what this comes back with, how good this system is. And I think it's a really powerful way of, as I say, self-reflecting. So I uploaded it. My question was, I was struggling with trusting myself on big decisions, made a solid decision, I felt good about it, then 5 minutes later, I'm worrying it's the wrong decision. Based on my soul map, can you give me 3 journal prompts to get me to the bottom of this and 3 small actions to do this week that tie into my daily life that will help me with this and where it's coming from? Now, the really powerful way to use these AI tools is, as I say, having something that is tailored to you as one thing. So you're not just getting generic gunk that's coming back. That's what the soul map is. The second part is being able to observe yourself and ask the correct questions. There's no point asking it questions willy-nilly and then getting overwhelmed with how much information it comes back with. Live your life, see what bothers you. At the end of the day, have a little mini self-reflection opportunity, or at the end of the week, have a self-reflection opportunity. It makes it a really powerful way of working with it. And it came back with some really good suggestions. So, the short answer, what you're describing isn't a character flaw. It's a sign that your decision, it's not a design, not a sign that your decision was wrong either. And it listed exactly what I would expect it as a reader to pull out of my chart. The first thing that it listed was that I have an ego manifested authority. It tells me about that. It gives me that backing of that impulse that I usually feel. Then it gave me maybe what's getting in the way. So I have a defined head and Ajna. My head is always going in terms of trying to process information, trying to make sense of things, which is really powerful for systems, not so powerful for decisions making that comes from within the body. And then it gave me the last piece of the puzzle, which is that my 1-4 profile needs this ability to be able to feel solid and strong in a decision before it makes a move. So maybe just recognizing that that is also part of my process. It then goes on to give me journal prompts and 3 small actions, which I really liked. For me, the ability to reflect on it, but also the ability to have something to work with through the week. That is what trains our nervous system to make new decisions, to push ourselves to our edges a little bit, to be able to expand into it, and then to reflect and go, actually, it wasn't maybe as bad as I thought it was. At the end of a 12-week period, you can make so many changes that allow you to just align to who you are rather than who everyone tells you that you are. Super powerful. So you would then move through with those actions, try them, test them. Don't just ignore them. Don't just input, oh, I've asked the question and, I'm just going to ignore everything else that I'm meant to be doing in my life to work with this. Um, and then I kind of followed it up with a few other questions, So I was thinking about it, and as I was reflecting on some of those questions, I was reminded that my parents have an emotional authority, which I'd forgotten about. So the emotional authority takes time to work out. And through that, I then started to give myself permission. Actually, my decision making is correct, and also their decision making is correct. But I've got to adulthood and realize that I actually need to trust my own quick decision making rather than trying to follow someone else's or beating myself up for not following someone else's process. So it starts to become this really powerful self-reflection tool, and it's worth thinking about, where in life do I feel a little bit stuck? When is it going to be helpful for me to use this tool? Because it's not going to be helpful for me to use it every single day. That would just be overwhelm. And it's why the 12-week process is there for you when you get the soul map included with it. But this then becomes a really powerful way to starting to think about, how can I align my business, for example? How can I align my relationships? You might put two people's soul maps in there and start to ask questions around that. But as I say, what it takes out of it is the uncertainty of whether it's read a chart correctly, because the charts that it does read with no backing and no information, you're kind of going in blind if you can't read a blueprint in the first place. So I hope that that has been helpful. I hope that that has given you some ideas for how to use your soul map. This also shouldn't replace things like therapy, because what it's really important to do is have a human mirror and to have someone to actually speak it out to. A lot of people are designed to make decisions through hearing their own voice. So if you're only ever using tools like this, that's also not going to be particularly helpful. We do need that human interaction. And the really powerful thing about that human design teaches us about human interaction as well is that we complete each other. So when I'm working with a computer, I'm getting that's mirroring me back. It's basically like working with a reflector, right? It's mirroring me back. But when I'm working with people in a one-to-one setting, I'm borrowing bits of them, they're borrowing bits of me. We complete different channels and create what's called electromagnetic channels that spark new ideas or inspiration or urges and pulls, or directions or things to say. So it's not meant to replace, absolutely, but it is a really powerful tool for self-reflection when you can use it in this ethical way. So I hope that that has been helpful. I've tried to keep it short and sweet, but I do ramble sometimes. And yeah, enjoy your soul map. I will leave the link below so that if you've not got one, you can grab one. It will arrive with you within a couple of days. There's also an instant option if you prefer to just have the instant option. And when you buy it, you get that 12-week program. That's a rolling program, so you're not just limited to 12 weeks. You can keep rejoining as we go along, because every single time you will learn something a little bit different about yourself, because we're going through the layers. So I hope that that's been helpful. And yeah, enjoy your soul maps.